Angel fans, it's Fanmail Friday, and you asked, is the lack of free agent signings, does that have to do with Ohtani being gone or the past 10 seasons of being under 500 or something more? I think it might be something more. John might think the same thing. Let's talk about it, all right? It's time to get locked on with Mike and John, and this is Locked On Angels.
You are Locked On Angels, your daily Los Angeles Angels podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. You can find us anywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and SiriusXM by searching Locked On Angels. And if you'd like to give back to the Super Halo Bros for all the Super Halo content, here's some things that you can do. You can leave us a rate and a review on Apple Podcasts. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that thumbs up button. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and become a Locked On every day. We're almost at 7,000 subscribers on YouTube. We're excited about that. And whether you're watching or listening, come on over to YouTube, leave a comment. It's one of the best ways to get in touch with us and be a part of the conversation. And today's show is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use our code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase.
I love Gametime. Gametime's great. What's going on, everybody? Thank you for being here for this Fan Mail Friday edition of Locked On Angels, where it's your team every day. You've got the Frisch Brothers here with you, a.k.a. the Super Halo Bros. My name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
Hey, my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Hey, just a quick reminder, we're doing shows Monday, Wednesday, Friday, full episodes of Locked On Angels during the off-season, and then we'll be back to 5 days a week right around spring training, and so we'll keep you updated on that schedule. And, of course, if you haven't done so already, it would really help us out if you voted for us. Vote for Locked On Angels for Best Baseball Podcast. That link is in the episode description. Whether you're watching or listening, head on to the episode description and get to that link. Mike, on today's show, it's a Fan Mail Friday, and right off the bat, we have some questions. Do the Angels not have any appeal? Do they have appeal? Do they not have appeal? I'm turning into a Seinfeld bit.
They have no sex appeal?
I don't know about that.
Yeah, well, that's for sure. Mike Trout's pretty good looking, though. So let's start with Stephanie on YouTube. She said, it looks to me like no upper tier free agents that want to win now and be with a team that will be playing postseason baseball is even remotely considering the Angels. I thought playing for Wash and buying into his approach would get some interest, but so far, not so much. I would love to get your take on the reasons. Thanks for all that you do. Johnny, I honestly think that the reason why free agents aren't interested is it's not about them not wanting to come here because we're not winning. I think it's more about the Angels deciding not to spend. I think it's more about the Angels waiting to see what's going to happen with the TV deal. I think it's more about the Angels trying to figure out the team that they have. And to your point that you made yesterday on the Quick Hits episode, I wonder if there's some inner rumblings of already not being there or potentially maybe turning this staff over. Who knows? Because there's not much communication. But I don't necessarily think that it has to do with, I don't think anybody wants to come here. I think it's more to do with what the front office has decided to do, because we've seen players go to teams that are not great. And we use the Seager and Simeon example with the Rangers from a couple of years ago.
Stroman went to the Cubs and they weren't great when he went there. And
the Rangers were like a 60-win team and the Cubs weren't really great. And so I honestly think that it's more that than it is players coming here. What do you think, Johnny?
Well, to your point about the Angels not doing anything, it's odd to me that they've been quote unquote tied and in communication with so many of the free agents out there. And Mike, it makes you wonder as an Angel fan, are they just being used as leverage again, as they've been used before in the past?
It certainly feels like that. It feels like that's just rumors and they're throwing in the Angels name. In fact, I think it was a Locked On Everydayer that tweeted out when there were rumors about maybe Snell going to the Yankees. They said, so that means he's probably not going to the Yankees, right? Because that seems to be what happens with the rumors so far this offseason.
And I think all of that is to say that if they've been in on guys, but then we hear they haven't made any offers, like to Teoscar Hernandez. I said this yesterday, and I'll say it again. I'm not a big fan of Teoscar Hernandez. Him coming to the team would be like a full-time DH type that I wouldn't want to see. However, knowing that they didn't even make an offer, considering that they were so linked to him, I mean, does nothing go beyond conversation? Does it not go beyond the phone call? That's what it seems like to me. And so for that to be an issue here of players wanting to be here, I think you're right. I think it's more to do with what the team is deciding or not deciding to do. But I do want to speak to Stephanie's point, one of our favorite Locked On Everydayers, by the way,
Yeah.
Stephanie. I do want to speak to her point about Ron Washington having some appeal to players who would want to come here and play for him. I think they absolutely want to come and play for Ron Washington. I just don't think that they want to be under Arte Moreno. And when it comes to Washington, it's a prove it year. I think this is the year that he does something with this team and get us excited about this team. Like I've said all along, I think he raises the floor of a lot of these guys on this team. Mike, I think they are questionably competitive in the sense that, I think they can be good. It really depends on how much Ron Washington is able to get out of the sponge of the young core of guys and see what he can do in year one. So perhaps there are going to be a lot of guys waiting to see what the Angels can do in year one. Same thing that happened with the Mariners. The Mariners got hot and then they were able to get Robbie Ray. Now I know they traded him to the Giants, but Robbie Ray coming off a Cy Young season wanted to be in Seattle. Same thing with Baltimore. I think a lot of people are going to look at Baltimore and go, ooh, I want to be part of that. Same thing with the Diamondbacks. They got some big signings and they improved on their young core because there was something worth being excited about. So in my opinion, I think that this first year is a prove it year for the team and Ron Washington. And guys are going to watch from the outside looking in going, what's going on in Anaheim? Let me see how this year goes with Ron Washington.
John, grab your bottle of hopium and open it up with me, please.
Can I use my liquid death?
Absolutely. So we're going to open it up and we're going to drink some hopium. And it's something that you had talked about previously on a Quick Hits episode. I mean, if you look at this team, the way that it's laid out right now, you and I and Locked On Everydayers, we've seen these guys play. And so there's a lot of questions about their ability. There's a lot of questions like, can they really perform well? All of those things. They're young guys, they're still growing. But if you look at this team, there really isn't a big giant hole in the sense that first base is covered. You got a guy that has a lot of potential that reached base 29 times, right? You've got a second baseman, let's say it's Rengifo, who it seems to be like if you give him opportunity, he's going to perform. You got Zach Neto at shortstop. You do have Anthony Rendon, and if he's healthy, he's going to be fantastic, right? That's the expectation. You've got Ohtani at catcher. And if you go to the outfield, you've got Trout and you've got Moniak and you've got Ward and potentially Joe Adell. Now, all of those spots are taken by pretty good players. Now, their performance hasn't shown up yet, but if you look at this team, there's a part of me that says, I wonder if, and I'm kind of digging into the brain of Perry Manassian, I'm wondering if Perry's looking at this team going, that's why I made the trade for Moniak, and it's why I made the trade for Ohtani, so that we could solidify some pieces, and I'm going to let these guys do what they can do. We also talk about like the starting rotation. Truthfully, why can't Sandoval and Detmers and Canning and Silseth and Anderson, why can't they be a strong 5 starting rotation? I get the history fights against what I've just said, but if you drink the hopium, there might be a world where these guys find themselves performing to the level that I think everybody expected them to perform at.
Yeah. Well, and Mike, you said history shows us. What history? A year of history? A bad season for Tyler Anderson when he's had he didn't have electric Dodger seasons every year of his career. But he's a 3.5 guy, a 3.8 ERA guy, like a sub-4 ERA. I'll take that, right?
Well, and Sandoval, right? Sandoval 2 years ago was a sub-3 ERA and looked fantastic out there. And
I think it's a lot of recency bias.
Yeah, that's a very good point. I agree with you on that one.
I want to make this point too with the bullpen. I think that is an area in which the Angels have some needs still.
Yes.
But the guys who are there that I think that we can look forward to, Ben Joyce, Sam Bachman, Estevez, Soriano, it's a good group to build around. I think they're counting on a bounce back season from Adam Simber, who was pretty injured. He seems to think that he's going to do well this year. This kind of ties into Torrid's question. Torrid from YouTube, another favorite Locked On Everyday. Everybody's our favorite, but Torrid always asks good questions.
We like
I want to know if you think Ohtani is leaving the Angels as soured free agents from coming here, or is the problem the Angels' history for the last 10 years, or do you think they've not been soured at all? This has to be one of the worst off seasons I can think of, and I've been a fan since 1979. Mike, is it the fact that Ohtani left? Is it the recent 10 years, or maybe it's not a problem at all?
We made some points in just the previous discussion about like these players. I think that there might be some excitement about the potential of what these players could do and that they could get back to who they are and maybe even grow a little bit. John, I really look at the crop of free agents and I go, nobody's really impressive.
It's not a great offseason.
After Ohtani
Yeah.
and even Yamamoto, right? After those guys, there isn't really anybody that's like a world changer. Like you signed a Trey Turner and then he hit 7 home runs in 7 games for you, right? Like last year, all the shortstops that were available, they were super interesting. But after Yamamoto and after Ohtani, there isn't anyone that is a world changer here. And I know the Cy Young Award winner was Blake Snell, but quite honestly, Blake Snell feels like in the years that he hasn't won the Cy Young, he feels like a Patrick Sandoval. He feels like a number 3, right? He doesn't feel like he's going to really make a huge impact in any sort of rotation. And then when you think about like an impact hitter, there's Cody Bellinger, but there's a lot of questions about him. And I think he would only add more questions to this Angel team. Like, could he be the guy that he was with the Dodgers? Or will he be the guy that he was before he left the Dodgers? Or will he be the guy that he was with the Cubs? A lot of questions. You want to give that guy $200 million? I don't know. I understand why there's a bit of hesitancy. So I don't think it's because Ohtani's not here. I don't think it's because of the last 10 years. I'm sure that that's a part of the discussion. I don't think that that's completely put off, but I do think that the greater issue is there really isn't anybody out there. They're like, oh, that guy, let's do whatever we can to get that guy.
Right. And I think that plays into next season because the free agent class is so much better next season. It is frustrating though, Mike, to that point that we're going to sit here on our hands with another year of Mike Trout going down the drain. And you're hoping that he has a great 2024, but are we back to where we started before we got into the Troutani stuff? Because before that it was, well, Trout's got nobody around him to help him out. I really hope that the young guys can step up this season, stay on the field, stay healthy, and get full seasons out of those guys. Because that's another thing that we haven't seen very much of is we only got Shonwell for 29 games. We got Neto for about half the season. We got O'Hoppe for 50 games or so. So I think that that's also a big question mark as well. Thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen every single day. We're just getting started here with your Fanmail Friday questions. Coming up on Locked On Angels, if Arte ends up selling, would it be a downgrade depending on the next owner? Would the next owner be even worse? Well, we're going to get into all of that coming right up.
Locked On Angels is brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Gametime is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. You can see the view from your seats before you buy, so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. There's all-in prices, and they show up in your total right up front so that you know what you're getting, the deal that you're getting. There's no hidden fees, which I love. You can buy tickets in a matter of seconds, just 2 taps and you're set. And Gametime, they are obsessed with finding ways to help you save money on tickets. They have deals on tickets right up until the start of the event. And in some cases, even an hour after it starts. It's the place to find those last minute tickets. You can have exclusive flash deals and sponsored deals on tickets for all kinds of sports, concerts, comedy, theater, and more. And then they have zone deals, Johnny. And with a zone deal, you can pick the section, and then Gametime picks the seats. And there's an average savings of about 18%. And you know, we love that. We love going to concerts, love going to, sporting events, all of that stuff. But then you get some savings because Gametime helps you out. I love that. And then the Gametime guarantee means you're always going to get the best price. So if you find tickets in the same section and in the same row for less, then Gametime will notice that as well, and they'll credit you 110% of the difference. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the app right now, create an account, use our promo code LOCKED ON, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Some terms do apply. Again, create an account and use our promo code LOCKED ON, LOCKEDON. You get $20 off. Download Gametime right now. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed.
It's the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. Hey, Locked On Everydayers, don't forget to join Locked On Sports today on YouTube, because it's the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel. You can just turn that on and just go to work and do your thing and just have it on all day long, because they're covering all the top stories of the day around the sports world with the local experts of Locked On, plus the national shows as well. So head on over to Locked On Sports today on YouTube, hit that subscribe button, and be part of the first ever 24/7 national sports streaming channel.
All right, Johnny, here's the question that you teased in the last segment from Anthony on YouTube. Following the sell the team narrative, are you guys, John and I, are we worried at all that a new owner will result in maybe like an Oakland A's type of owner, even if it's not that extreme? Anthony says he's not an Arte fan, but at least he spends some money. There has been some worry that getting a new owner could be an ownership downgrade, which I think is a legitimate concern. However, when Arte put the team up for sale, one of the rumored guys that was interested was Joe Adell from the Golden State Warriors. And that dude spends money.
Yeah.
And that wouldn't have been a downgrade at all. And he's also somebody that lets his basketball people do what they're supposed to do.
Yeah.
He creates a space for them to get who they need to get. It's why Steph Curry has been there for as long as he's been there. And they've built a team around him, and why Steve Kerr has been there for as long as he's been there. And so, honestly, I don't necessarily think that it would be a downgrade because, John, as much as we watch this team and cheer for this team and we're frustrated with this team, buying the Angels would be a great investment and a great purchase. And the number one reason why is because it would be so easy to make this team competitive.
Yeah.
It's not like you have to go, man, I don't know why it's not working. You and I, who are not baseball people, never owned a team. We've never made decisions for baseball people except on MLB The Show.
Right.
Like, we know how to fix this. Like, we've seen some of the things that you can do. And then there's those everydayers who are baseball people who have been in the baseball world. They know how to solve this. And so, gosh, it just seems like it's so simple. And with all the rumored names like Joe Adell, I don't think it'd be a downgrade at all. I think, in fact, we would be really excited, and that person could come in and spend, on a pitcher, and we would be like, all right.
Well, and Mike, spending, to Anthony's point, spending has never been the problem.
Yeah.
It's how the money is being spent.
Yes.
And it's not spent in ways that invest in the long term. It's not spent in ways that crank out superstar players because they're coming up from your minor leagues. Let me just start at the top here and break it down. First of all, I think somebody who's willing to spend $2.5 to $3 billion on this franchise, because I think that's where the evaluations will come out to should they sell again.
Yeah.
They're going to want to make this profitable. Nobody's going to buy a business without the intention of making it profitable. And an owner who understands that spending money to make money is a key principle of ownership, I think that is ingrained in every businessman, right? So the fact that winning equals profit, which Arte has seen, he won all through the 2000s decade, and there was a lot of profits there. They boosted attendance. They did all kinds of stuff. They got to the playoffs a ton of times from 2002 to 2009. So how do you win, Mike? You add free agents and you add those pieces to surround your core of players that are going to be here for the long haul. And the truth is the Angels have that. They have guys like O'Hoppe and Neto and Shohei and Silseth and Detmers, even Trout. Even Trout's going to be here for the long haul. You got to have your veterans on a team as well. But here's my point. Investing in the minors equals cheap and valuable players who help you win. And even John Fisher, who everybody is calling for to sell the team, even John Fisher has seen that. And the way the A's develop players and draft players, they brought up some studs over the years. We just talked about the fact that Sean Murphy and Matt Olson with the Braves, you watch and see all the A's around the league and you're like, man, that could have been such a great team for a long time. The problem with John Fisher is he doesn't want to pay the guys when it comes time to pay the guys. And so that's their problem. And that's the way that they're trying to save money. But, there's certainly a lot of interest in even the Oakland A's and by all accounts, the Las Vegas A's from other owners. Like even Joe Adell has said that he would like to buy the A's, but Fisher is not interested in selling. And then there was a couple of questions on our comment section about, why would anybody want to buy this team when they're not competitive? Well, competitiveness is not the reason anybody is going to buy a team.
Yeah.
The future potential and the money that is on the table in front of you. That's why anyone starts a business or wants to buy a business. And we've seen the proof, Mike, in the results of losing seasons, because there's 500 million less people coming through the gates at Angel Stadium every single year since they reopened, because even with the draw of Ohtani and the giveaways and the bobbleheads and all that stuff, they can't get to 3 million anymore. And that used to be the standard for the Angels for the last 10 years. Even when they were bad from 2016 to 2019, they're still bringing in 3 million fans. And so all of that adds up to the fact that if a new owner comes in, they are not going to put down $2.5 to $3 billion for this team to fail. I believe that they'll come in with an understanding of, you got to spend money to make money. You got to invest in the minor leagues. There are ways to quote unquote cheap out and still be really good. And I think the A's are an example of that, because everybody needs a good minor league system. You got to constantly have good guys coming through your system. And so to me, I think that would be the first investment that I would make. How about this question, Mike, from Spider in July on YouTube? They said, if Arte was willing to go over the luxury tax in order to win, would the Angels be the ones with Shohei and Yamamoto and possibly even Glasnow? It seems odd that Arte didn't pay up for his ultimate moneymaker when he could have landed under the tax. Did Shohei tell the Angels that he thinks he can get Yamamoto to join and he wanted a commitment to win? So just for some context here, Mike, Shohei's contract structured with the Dodgers puts them on the hook for $46 million toward the luxury tax. The Angels have about $70 million, even after some of the arbitration stuff that got done yesterday, before they hit that first luxury tax. That would have put them at about $24 million before hitting that first threshold. And even if they kept Ohtani, they would still be $24 million under that. That's not a lot of room to play with.
Yeah.
But you have to imagine a world where if Arte was willing to go over the luxury tax, then he could have landed Ohtani and Yamamoto and Glasnow, right?
Yeah. I was going to say, sure. But when you're thinking about Arte Moreno, this is the guy that said that Ohtani is, top 5, top 10 all time.
Yeah.
Right. And so
no, in the league.
Yeah.
He's a top 5. He's a top 10 player in the league. Are you kidding me?
Right. And so I honestly don't think that it had anything to do with the luxury tax, Spider. I think it had everything to do with what Arte had planned on doing. And I don't think that he was comfortable giving Ohtani $30 million in arbitration last year. I think that he sees players, and specifically somebody like Ohtani, who's a pitcher, he sees pitchers as not valuable. And for some reason, that's in his brain, and that's been communicated in a few different ways. And
they don't play every day, Mike.
Right, and which is stupid. And then there's Shohei, who plays all the time, even when he's hurt, right? And so I don't think it had anything to do with any of those things. I just think it had to do with what Arte was going to do. Quite honestly, I wonder if because of the negative narrative that's around this team, I wonder if Arte is kind of just like, you know what, I'm going to do whatever the heck I want to do. I'm going to do whatever I'm going to sign whoever I want. I don't know what kind of attitude he has.
Not sign whoever he wants.
Right. I think and there might be an attitude behind it, but I don't necessarily think if they were going to go over the luxury tax, they could have gotten all of those guys, because I don't think they wanted to. I don't think they wanted to do that at all.
Well, in my opinion, Mike, I don't think that they have any foresight to understand that going over the luxury tax for Shohei Ohtani is not the end of the world, because you make that money back, in 2 years tops? Like any penalties that you incur for going over the luxury tax for Shohei Ohtani and Yamamoto and all that, you make that money right back. And it's not a problem. And to me, it's so frustrating that nobody really seems to have the foresight to go, you know what, this is a good investment. Yeah. And I'm I'm actually, as a longtime Angel fan, I'm very interested to see what happens with these young guys. And I'm fine that Ohtani is with the Dodgers, but at the same time, I have to look at what the front office did and just go, you guys, do you not think about past your hand? Like, do you not think about what you're having for breakfast tomorrow?
There is a way to make money, right? You make money by spending money and you expand things, or there's a way to make money and you pinch every penny. And that seems to be what the Angels do right now. They like to pinch every penny, and they're not thinking anything outside of that. They're not seeing beyond their hand, to your point.
Absolutely. So yeah, the lack of foresight is certainly frustrating with this team.
Well, you don't have to have lack of foresight, because you can join FanDuel right now. They're a sponsor of this show. And FanDuel is somebody that will help you win some money and have some foresight. So you can bet $5. Then when you bet, whether you win or lose, FanDuel is going to give you $150 in bonus bets. Just like that.
Even if I lose.
That's how much they love you. So you should download the FanDuel app right now.
This is a favor to all Angel fans.
Super easy to use. So many different ways to bet. They've got same game parlays. You can go to the Parlay Hub, one of the best ways to find popular parlays. You can find bets in the Explore tab. And if you're new to this, FanDuel's app actually explains all of this stuff as well. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to make your first bet. And remember that FanDuel is the official betting partner of the NFL.
And today's show is brought to you by our friends over at Logix Credit Union. Listen, the best lineup in the LA area right now, it's not any team that you're familiar with. It's the lineup of auto loans at Logix. They start off at the top with one of my favorites, the proven and dependable new and used vehicle loans. Mike, that's kind of like a Mike Trout, wouldn't you say? Proven
Absolutely.
and dependable. You can count on these guys to give you low rates and save you big time bucks. Next up, they've got an exciting new rookie sensation in their electric vehicle loans with super low rates and flexible payment terms. Maybe you're thinking, Logan Ohtani, he's kind of the new rookie sensation comparable to what Logix has going on. And then rounding out their lineup, they've got the auto refinancing loans and lease buyout loans. With these guys, you can lower your monthly payments and get on the road to owning your car faster. Seriously, nobody is going to beat this lineup at Logix. So visit your local Logix branch right here in the LA area and let one of their amazing team members help you, or just apply in minutes online at logixbanking.com/car. That's LOGIX banking.com/car.
John Rodney, that's a good first name, by the way, John. John Rodney on YouTube had a few questions, and so we're going to summarize each of those questions. Here's the first few. He said, "How do the Angels prep for games?" Second question was, "What improvements have been made to the medical staff, considering Trout and Ohtani had to hire their own to help them? How current is the technology being used to live up to the demands of the game right now?" So, Johnny, why don't you hit us with the first question? How do the Angels prep for games?
Well, this has been a frustrating point of contention for us, especially in the 2 years that we've been doing Locked On Angels. Is we've heard different things from all the different managers, and one thing that really stood out to us, Mike, was Joe Madden didn't have the guys taking batting practice every day, and so they would hit in the cages inside, but when they're struggling at the plate and they're not taking BP every day, it's like, well, then what are you doing to improve? What are you doing to help in that area? We heard a lot from Phil Nevin over the course of last year about how these guys come in prepared every day. They're prepared. Well, we've often questioned on the show, what does that prep look like, Phil?
Give me a definition.
If you're playing with a slinky and that's your definition of prepared, then sure, they might be prepared to play slinky, but that's not that's not going to help you on the field. So, Mike, I think with Ron Washington and the new coaching staff, I think that you can expect things to get better in terms of pregame prep, because we've actually seen video of Ron Washington out there working with players, and it's inspiring. It's exciting. I know that he's not the infield coach, but he's definitely going to have a hand in making this team really good in 2024. That's why we're excited about what he brings to the table, because he's got a track record and we've seen it and there's proof of it, right?
Yeah. The second question was about the medical staff, and the Angels have let go of their medical staff, training staff, and a lot of guys, and they've hired new ones, according to reports from earlier in the offseason. Perry has made it very clear that this was an area that they were going to address. It was an area of need. Problem is we just don't know if it's being addressed, right? We hope it's true.
I just hurt my oblique. Oh,
you're out for the season.
I'm out for the season.
That's the thing. You could tell he was frustrated and wanted to address this. And so they have made some in-house changes. I guess it's just a matter of what will happen this year. And you know what? There is some luck to this as well when it comes to some of these players. Sure. And, some teams are going to have guys that are going to be healthy. Like Marcus Semien played every single game last year, right? And so will it happen this year? I don't know. But I think with this team, I don't think that Ohtani is going to play just 50 games. I think he's going to be in there for a while. Same thing with Zach Neto. And the trends would say that Mike Trout with the DH spot is going to be able to play a whole lot more as well. So the story is, the reports are that they've made some significant moves in the medical department.
How current is the technology being used? Well, the one thing that you and I have praised Perry for is the fact that he's hired a lot of guys from Driveline over his tenure, which is where tons of players go to get better at pitching and hitting and get hooked up to the machine and see how their throws are going and whatnot. And so we're hopeful that when he hired those Driveline guys, that they bring their Driveline wisdom and experience and maybe even some technology that the Angels are implementing. There doesn't seem to be any indication or guarantees of that, but it does seem like Perry has made an effort with guys like Bill Hessel, who was assistant pitching coach last year, and he was the former pitching coordinator at Driveline. So by all accounts, it seems like Hessel is still part of the organization. And I will say that those hires, maybe they weren't best suited in like a assistant pitching coach role, but if they're behind the scenes and working with the player development department, I think that that's a big win for the Angels.
Kurt on YouTube wants to know about Jo Adell, and will he be the fourth outfielder this year, or does he get traded to maybe fill in a roster position, because Adell is out of options? So he thinks we should play him, or we should trade him, or see what we can get in return. What do you think, Johnny?
Mike, I think that you got to play Jo Adell, and you got to give him a chance. This is the year. Let it happen. There's not anything on the line here. No expectations, because I truly believe he worked out a lot of his mental issues in terms of playing the game last year, because we've seen him come up and play the outfield. He played all three positions really well. I think that that's a criticism that will go away in 2024. I'm interested to see if his bat will translate from AAA to the majors, maybe not at the same capacity, but I do think that it's worth giving Jo Adell a spot on this team, having him in the outfield at certain points, whether it's the fourth outfielder or he's filling in for each of the guys and moving all over the field. I think that this is the year for him to step up and do that.
He feels like a young Jorge Soler. Like, he feels like a guy who can come in there with maybe a low batting average, but hit for a lot of power. I could see the end of the year, I could see Jo Adell hitting in the 220s, 230s, let's say, but with 25 to 30, maybe even 35 home runs and 75 to 80 RBIs. And he's rotated in the outfield, and he's rotated in that DH spot. So I think you got to give him a shot, Johnny. Plus, let's remind the listeners and viewers that he's a young man.
He's
that
25.
He has not been around for a very, very long time, right? It
Even
feels
though
like
it feels
been
like
it forever. But he's a young dude, and he's starting to develop into his body and get his head right. And so I think you got to play him and see what you got.
Mike, last question comes from Quincy on YouTube. We actually had a lot of questions about this. Your thoughts on Trevor Bauer in the Halos pitching rotation? What do you say, Mike?
It would be easy to go after the off the field stuff, but I don't want to dehumanize anybody. I don't want to go after anybody's character. I know that there has been reports out there like he was innocent, all of those things. Quite honestly, John, if you look at him just as a baseball player, I can see why people would really want him on this team, simply because he was a good pitcher when he was in the major leagues, and he did well when he was in the foreign leagues. My concern for Trevor Bauer is his head and where he's at. Because remember, before he was even traded to the Dodgers and left with the Guardians, remember him chucking the ball,
chucking the baseball,
yeah, and then looking at his manager and going sorry, and so it feels like a lot of intrusive thoughts don't get stopped in his head, and so I mean. Let's look at like Patrick Sandoval and how frustrated we've been with him when he throws a fit on the mound.
Yeah.
Do we really want another pitcher like that? I guess is the question. And Bauer's been out for a couple of years now. And what will it translate for him to come back? Will he need a year to kind of figure it out? And do we want him to figure it out on our team? I think if we're going to stand pat or make small moves like we're making, it wouldn't make sense to bring Trevor Bauer onto this team. And then if there is the off the field stuff that is kind of chaotic, it just seems like you're bringing this guy into a team that is young and trying to figure some things out. Although I think Wash would be a good manager for him. He probably could maybe get him on the right track, would be great. And Bauer probably would be on his best behavior. But I think it was it Jim Bowden that said that Bauer's done?
Yeah.
And said that he probably won't get a starting spot. So as a fan, I don't know if I would be really excited to have him come over, because I don't necessarily think that it's an additive for a team that has no expectations.
For a team that has as much nonsense as it already has, my opinion is let's not add more nonsense to the equation next year and just let the young guys have their team, right?
Yeah. Hey, thanks for making Locked On Angels your first listen of the day. Every dayers, make your second listen the Locked On Sports Today channel on YouTube. It's a 24/7 channel covering top sports stories of the day with our local experts of Locked On, like John and I, and our national shows covering every league. Go to Locked On Sports Today on YouTube. Hit subscribe to the first ever national sports 24/7 streaming channel.
Hey, give us a follow at Locked On Angels on Twitter and at Super Halo Bros on Twitter and Instagram. Remember, Don't forget to vote for us for Best Baseball Podcast. The link is in the episode description. Mike, real quick, what do we have on deck for Monday's show?
Was anyone thrilled with the 2001 team as they were entering 2002?
Okay.
Was anyone? Right? So on Monday, what we're going to do is compare the Angels that finished that 01 team, that finished the 01 year, to the guys on the 2023 roster and determine if maybe it's time to let the young ones play and maybe we can be pleasantly surprised, like a Jared Washburn 18-win season in 2002. That came out of nowhere. We'll talk about that on Monday on Locked On Angels.
Looking forward to that conversation. We hope you have a great weekend. Until then, my name is John, and that's my brother Mike.
And my name is Mike, and that's my brother John.
Thanks for being here, friends, and we'll see you back here on Monday.
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 Blah, 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 blah.